Welcome to AskLawyers.com, videocast number 2. My name is Rob Reed of AskLawyers.com, and today a special treat for you, a friend of mine, Sachin Puri, Esquire, California immigration attorney from Klein Immigration Law Group, AskLawyers.com/Alan Klein. And we're going to be talking to you today about H1B visas. I know next to nothing about them, and he's going to explain. But first, welcome, Sachin. And
Thank you.
can you tell us a little bit about how what? Sorry, I got the.
What are you laughing about?
I don't know what you said, but can you tell us a
I
little
said
bit?
thank you.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what Klein Immigration Law Group does?
Sure. So Klein Immigration Law. Okay, focus, Robbie.
This is live. Klein Immigration Law Group.
Klein Immigration Law Group is an immigration law firm that specializes in all aspects of immigration. So we work with clients for non-immigrant work visas. We work with people who are seeking to permanently reside here. So in avenues of getting a green card. We work with clients if they're looking for citizenship, if they're if they're in any sort of deportation problems, we help clients with those matters as well. So we provide basically all possible avenues and solutions from an immigration perspective for not only individuals, but for employers and families as well.
Fantastic. So the subject matter for today is H1B visas, and I believe that you told me that this was a good time to be even talking about it because we've got some deadlines coming up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is. April 1st is the deadline for, or I should say the deadline for when the window opens for a 5-day period where all employers from all around the country can file for the H1B lottery system. To hopefully get their potential employees selected and approved so they can continue or start working for the company. The H-1B is a vital pipeline for the United States from an immigration perspective of bringing over the best and the brightest to work for various employers and companies here in the United States. And a lot of these employees have earned their master's or PhD degrees from universities here in the United States. So it is a very vital resource to continue to keep these brilliant minds here so that the American economy and companies can continue to grow.
So how many spots? There's a limited number of spots every year for these H-1B visas, right? How many do we have designated?
Right. So every year, Congress selects the number, and so far the number has been steadfast at 85,000. Out of which what used to be the process was the 20,000 off the 85 was for people with a U.S. master's degree or a U.S. PhD, and the rest were for people who earned bachelor's degrees from whether it was within the United States or anywhere around the world. Well, that process has flipped a little bit, where now they give preference to every person who has a U.S. master's degree first. So they'll count as many masters and PhDs first, and then if there are any visas remaining, will be designated for individuals who have at least a bachelor's degree. So, yeah.
That's an interesting thing because you've been an immigration attorney longer than Donald Trump has been in office. So how has the H-1B visa system changed? In other words, the day before he was elected, what were the numbers? Were they similar or totally different?
Well, the total number of visas available were the same because that number is not designated by the president, but is designated by Congress. That number actually significantly lowered significantly during the Bush administration when there was a huge economy crisis here and employers were just not hiring. Prior to that, the numbers used to be for the number of available visas were close to 100,000. And then when they realized that the economy just was not getting that many applicants, they reduced the number to what its present number is, which is 85,000. But what has specifically changed since Mr. Trump has taken over is how difficult it has become for someone to qualify or their case get approved for such type of visa. Previously, it used to be if an employer, a bona fide employer, is potentially um, uh, filing for an employee who is a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer or any degree, any position that requires a degree, it used to be pretty straightforward. That no longer is the case. It has gotten a lot more complicated, and we're seeing a lot more pushback from immigration on various aspects of the H-1B. Mr. Trump is a very America first, and that policy is very reflective in how many of these H-1Bs are being approved, even after they're selected in the lottery.
Okay, the H-1B visa, to my understanding, is a specialty visa for employment. Now, in order to be able to file one, though, you can't just do it on your own, right? You need a sponsor, or how does that work?
Yes, so any individual filing for any type of work visa here in the United States, including the H-1B, must have a U.S. company employer that is willing to sponsor them. The H-1B is in itself a sponsorship visa where the employer is going to file an application on behalf of the beneficiary so that once approved, the beneficiary will then be a full-time employee of that said company. Um, it is a specialty visa. It's approved in 3-year increment for a maximum of 6 years. And the employer is able to control, even though the employee is the beneficiary and uses the visa to work here in the United States, it is the employer who ultimately has control over the visa.
So the usual situation is that a company wants to hire, maybe solicits a bunch of resumes from outside of the country, find somebody that they want to hire, and then they would come to you, or does the potential employee ever come to you first? How does that work?
Well, I'm going to make one small correction there from what you said. And it's not wrong what you said. I'm just going to add a little bit. Usually, these employees or beneficiaries who are going to be sponsored through the employer are individuals who are already here in the United States on an F1 student visa.
Mm.
And on the F1 student visa, you are allowed to request what is called OPT, optional practical training, where you basically then are employed and work for a company to help. The way it is looked at is it helps further your studies and furthers your education since you are now employed in your field. And then when these beneficiaries or employees start working for these companies under the OPT, if the employer likes them, then they say the next step is to sponsor them through an H-1B so they can keep them.
Okay.
We get. I'm sorry.
No.
Just to finish my thought and your question, we get both, and employees have come to us as well as employers have come to us. It's a mixed bag. There's not one way or another.
Okay. What was I going to say? So we're now March 26th, 2019, which means we've got less than a week before the window begins. The window starts April 1st of 2019 this year. So if somebody wants to get an H-1B visa, get the process going, particularly with your law firm to contact you, how could somebody do that?
They can get the process going by calling us at 818-728-5800. Call, ask for myself, Sachin Puri, or Alan Klein, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you regarding the H-1B process. If you need to send an email, it's Klein, Klein, visas @gmail.com. You can what it is we're so close to the window and there's so many steps that go in between now and us even filing with immigration that it's going to be really tight. For what I mean by that is let's say John Doe comes to us today and says, I would like my company to sponsor an H1B. The first step is to file what is known as an LCA, which is a labor certification. It is an online application, and it takes 7 business days for the U.S. Department of Labor to certify this application. Only we can only file an H1B in the lottery or any other time when we have a certified LCA. If I file the application without this document, the entire application will be rejected and not considered part of the lottery.
Wow.
So 7 business days already takes us right to April 5th. So it's going to be extremely close if we start the process now, but it is, I mean, we could try. It's going to be close, but definitely could be.
Well, then hopefully you don't get inundated with a bunch of calls because of the millions of people that are watching this podcast right now. So, no, but for next year, though, in future years, it doesn't have to be 2019, when would you suggest somebody, let's say next year? Is it always April 1st?
Yes, it's
Okay.
always the first Monday of April.
The first Monday of April. So when would you suggest people start contacting you in order to get that labor certification? Normally, like for next year.
Right. Normally, I like clients at least starting to contact us in early February of the year, just because there's a lot of information that must be gathered, and many times there are multiple conversations that must happen between ourselves as the attorney, the employee, and the employer. And if the employer is a large multinational company, then there are even more layers of people to talk to before anything gets approved to move forward. So usually I like to start the first week. I usually tell clients first week of February, just so we have enough time in case anything is delayed, that we have enough time without any sort of panic. Because the window is April 1st to April 5th. So we got to start early. We have to start early.
What happens if it's April 6th and somebody gets a job offer from somewhere and they need an H1B? Do they have to wait the entire year before they're going to be able to work for that company?
Yes. Unless they qualify for any other type of work visa, and there are other types of work visas depending on which country you're from. There are specific visas for people from those countries. For example, a Canadian can apply for a TN visa, or an Australian can apply for an E3 visa. But if you're from most other countries like India or England, if you only qualify for the H1B and you've never had one before, then you are out of luck, and you got to wait all the way until the following year to apply for the lottery.
Okay. Well, I'm sure as we continue on with these video casts, and the plan is that I will, that would you be willing to come back if we had some immigration issues in the news and maybe talk about those on the podcast?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
Great. So that's Klein Immigration Law Group, 818-728-5800. Is that correct? The
yes,
phone number?
Sir. That is
remembered
correct.
it.
Thank you.
And no, it's my pleasure. You can reach him. You can reach their firm. There's a direct way to contact them at asklawyers.com/Alan Klein. On the very bottom, you can send a box if you have any immigration law questions. Of course, you also could go to the main page of asklawyers.com and present your question there in any area of law. And hopefully we have some attorney in our database. If we do not, we're more than happy at no charge to you to try and find an attorney in your area who can help you. We thank you for watching, but before I close out, Mr. Puri, is there anything you'd like to add?
Start getting those visas and start thinking about what you want to do next, so that there's never a delay.
Fantastic. On that note, we wish you a happy week, and we will see you soon for AskLawyers.com videocast number 3.